Thank you for coming to uh, tonight's Career Skills Workshop on a new topic that we're looking at this semester on understanding company culture. And we'll be recording the presentation portion so that you can refer to it afterwards, or if you need to drop off or get disconnected for any reason, it's a resource available to you. If we haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Tina Lynn, and I am the career coach here at CUNY SPH. So I meet with students one-on-one in career coaching appointments, as well as run career skills workshops like this one and Career Corner group advising sessions. I'm joined today by my colleague, Taylor Drost, who is actually a SPH alumna, and she is our Career Skills Academy program manager. And we're very happy that those of you that are part of Career Skills Academy are joining us here tonight. And just a reminder about, for those that are new to our workshops, our core values at the Office of Career Services is that this isn't just a presentation of just information, but that it is a way for you to build awareness around ideas, to apply them in community by connecting with your fellow SPH classmates and with staff here, and creating action steps and takeaways that can expand the potential pathways that that you can step into as you grow as a professional. And so what to expect for tonight is that we've dropped the worksheet for our pre-event activity. I'll be doing a quick presentation on this topic with to build that context and look at some considerations and resources, and that community connect portion, which is really important, that pair and share, and as you talk out and learn from one another, and then coming back as a large group, where we'll debrief and share best practices and as well as some advice and announcements. And so this is an interactive and engaged event. And so we're glad for the questions that have come in before when you were registering. So if there are additional ones, please drop them into the chat or feel free to unmute and share that out. But questions that came in from your fellow students were things like how do I deal when the company is in conflict with my personal values, or tackle unexpected situations in the workplace, or establish boundaries and maintain them, or making productive conversation at the workplace, even starting from interviewing. And so this topic is in line with a lot of the other topics that we've looked at this semester. And so these are resources that are available on Handshake in the resource library. And in particular, our very first workshop this semester was on career values. And so if you are in CSA and missed that and want to kind of take some time to look at that activity for career values, feel free to schedule some time with Taylor or with me, and we'd be happy to review that with you. But for those that are interested in kind of like how this sort of builds into looking at interviewing, that's coming up next, along with kind of like practicing a personal pitch and just other avenues and events to sort of build your career skills. And so on this topic of work culture, kind of like what is a definition that we can kind of build our conversation around? And so looking at a work culture, that it is a set of beliefs and customs and behavior of a group of people within a work environment, such as a team, a department, or an organization as a whole. And it is something that is created by everybody working in the organization, from the CEO to the entry-level employees, like every level of the organization. And this idea of work culture is like, besides being a buzzword, that there isn't a single definition of work culture. And that's because it's not something that's just about concrete policies or like guiding principles or company traditions, but that it's it can be something that evolves because it is based on the behaviors of the people that are working in an organization. And so as we think about all the different sorts of relationships where starting with oneself and with the hiring manager with the supervisor, and then also in the context of the team within the context of the organization, this Venn diagram here is kind of like providing components in understanding kind of that these elements of corporate culture, uh, and sort of like these circles are. I'll start with kind of that relationship or transactional, and sort of this idea of yourself and your boss. Like with this relationship, how what more defines this relationship? Is the employee and his or her boss, is it a productive and communicative relationship where the leader's helping the employee develop, learn, and grow? Or is a duo more of like a transactional sort of, where the boss uses the employee as an asset, treating this employee like a headcount and not necessarily caring about their future? So, kind of like how is that dynamic between oneself and that supervising manager, as well as with that leader and the team. Like, are you as an employee part of a team where the leader is open and reciprocal and accessible, and that there's opportunity for engagement and fulfilling purpose? But if the boss and the team sort of exhibit like a closed behavior of like being unwilling to adapt, or not proactive, or not willing to ideate, that's also kind of like this idea of like those team dynamics of being open or closed. And then, the team within the context of the organization. So you'll see at the bottom level of that line, sort of like, this idea of whether or not the there there's like connection, or is it connected or absent? Like for a team to be successful within the wheel of the entire organization, it's got to be connected to other teams, and like acting as a whole. So like so when all teams are connected, the organization becomes very symbiotic. But if the team is sort of like absent and does its own thing, and it doesn't really make an effort to connect with other teams or within the organization, that it's sort of like in this silo, then kind of like that's sort of like that absentee and disconnected component from the team to the organization. And then looking at oneself within all of this, and one's own commitment or indifference even. So when an organization and its senior leadership are committed to the employee with like fair wages, with community involvement, learning and development opportunities, it's a lot easier for the employee to commit oneself to the organization's mission and satisfying goals. But if the organization is indifferent and not caring about the employee, who makes up a valuable asset in the whole, then certainly employees can become indifferent to the organization as well. So there's this kind of like give and take, and sort of like these different components within relationships, commitments, and connection, and like openness. And sort of like these are some of the things that we've been looking at in terms of elements of positive work culture. And some of you have dropped in the chat some of the things that you're interested in hearing more about, and kind of like uh, on agile, which is not to be confused with nimble, which was another one that somebody had mentioned. But an agile company is one that embraces a mindset empowering employees to thrive in a fast-paced environment. And this agility is an ability for organizations to pivot swiftly, responding to like these market shifts, and just evolving to meet the needs of their clients and stakeholders. like to stay ahead of the curve. So that's the agility portion. On the nimbleness, let's take a look at that one. And for a nimble culture kind of sets the stage for that agility and that adaptability and innovation. And kind of like, sort of like, by fostering this nimble culture, organizations are empowering their teams to stay ahead of the curve, to seize these new opportunities and to navigate it with efficiency. Other things that people wrote about was what is an enterprising kind of comp- company work culture. And for this enterprising um, company is characterized by this relentless drive to be forward thinking. It's a very dynamic environment where employees are empowered to take risks, to explore new opportunities, and to drive that impactful change. And a company in this culture, like, will want to foster creativity, and it's a place where creativity flourishes, where challenges can be seen as opportunities, and this pursuit of excellence and shared passion kind of propels this organization to these new heights. Other words that people mentioned were progressive. And a progressive culture embodies a forward thinking ethos where innovation and diversity and adaptability reign supreme. That it's not just about keeping pace with change, but it's about leading the change and fostering an environment for these bold ideas to flourish and to shatter barriers. So, kind of like these are, and another one that was mentioned was visionary. So a visionary culture describing a company, striving to transcend the present and imagine the next new thing in the future. Um, it's an organization that's just not content with the status quo, but kind of wants to be the leader and shape the industry landscape. And so in a visionary culture, employees are inspired to think boldly, and challenge the conventions of the day, um, and work towards that common vision to propel the company towards greater impact. Um, and so those are just a few of the ones that people mentioned. Taylor, were there others that you can that that others had mentioned? I see empowering, kind of like another one um,
Yeah, there
where,
was sustainability as well, which
okay,
Ambrosia just put in the chat.
great. So on empowering, like the cultivating an empowered culture, uh, this is an environment where it's vital to establish clear goals, providing ongoing training and development opportunities, fostering an environment of trust and accountability. An empowering company culture gives employees sort of like autonomy and authority to make their own decisions, and also trust the employees to take ownership for their work, as well as providing opportunities for this personal and professional growth. So, like, things to watch out for are, empowered employees have ownership of these projects. Like they become a stakeholder there, versus like, and on somebody had asked about autonomy as well. And this idea of autonomous work refers to that level of freedom and independence that employees might have in performing their duties, including the ability to decide when and where they work, as well as having authority to make decisions to contribute to their overall job performance. And so this enabling of autonomy instills like an employee's trust in the company and helps build employee satisfaction. I think, and the opposite of it, autonomy, which we'll see on the next slide, is kind of like this idea of micromanaging. Um, Other words that folks had mentioned were sustainability. And this idea about a sustainable culture, it's something that goes beyond just like the profitability, um, and prioritizing environmental um, preservation, um, but towards like social equity and economic resilience. So integrating these sustainable practices into like every facet of the operations, from like the supply chain, to employee health and well-being. Companies can sort of cultivate this relationship with their customers, with their employees, with the communities, and with the planet. And so it's like a larger vision of like what's sustainable and like beyond profits, right? And prioritizing kind of environment and people. Um, and so it it was just really interesting just seeing how just the words that you're all interested in, and definitely like there's tons of elements to kind of assess and reflect what were the environments like where you've been? What did you enjoy about them? What did you not enjoy? And what would you be looking for moving forward? On the other end, we've got some of these elements of toxic work culture and kind of like these different characteristics of like biased or bureaucratic or disconnected and or fault finding and intimidating, and micromanaging or overworked, and status quo environments, like, kind of like signs of this, and how this shows up in toxic work cultures. Those are things to like look out for. Maybe those are things that you've experienced before, and you don't want to be in that place again. And so, kind of like as we take in all of these different aspects of work culture, whether it's positive or negative, and seeing how that is in relation with ourself and in in with managing supervisor and the team and the organization, like the context within our individual context within the larger context, kind of like bringing all of these things together. And the reason why this topic even came up for this semester is, how can one observe company work culture? When can we do this and how? And there are so many opportunities to do this before you start a job. Throughout a lot of times when we're applying for jobs, the focus really is on sort of like the responsibilities and day-to-day duties and tasks. But like something that's not necessarily considered is the work culture. And there are opportunities to kind of learn this through even before you start a job, right? Like, so going online to research the company website, recent press, their social media sites, whether it's LinkedIn, or Glassdoor, or even Handshake. There are reviews on there about the company culture. Um, Meeting and engaging with these companies at events, whether they're at the career fair, maybe there's a presentation, an info session, or at different conferences. And certainly ways to kind of connect on learning more about and doing this research on company work culture is speaking with employees, right? Having these informational conversations to kind of get their boots on the ground take. And this can all be informative to you if you're applying to that company, and land an interview at that company, sort of like assessing those vibes throughout the entire interviewing process, with from the start, with the human resources or just the team dynamics as you're interviewing with different team members or even the hiring manager. And a great opportunity to in the interview process is the questions that you might have for any of these people, to assess that work culture. And certainly once you start a job fitting into work culture, or maybe even thinking of ways to impact work culture through assessing that vibe in team meetings and also with those one-on-one regular manager touch points, and also during milestones throughout your work, your job journey and your career journey. That first 100 days, kind of like absorbing all of this information, and certainly setting milestones for like that first half year and that annual review, and continuously, because this idea of company work culture, there's that it's not fixed, but that we have an impact in it as well as it having an impact on us. And so some examples, just to kind of like as we're thinking about all these and uh, putting them together, like here are examples of some companies that we can kind of talk through of real world examples of work culture. And at at Amazon, there's this article kind of talks about the high pressure work environment there that they call like purposeful Darwinism, right? Where they're Amazon's constantly pushing the employees to consistently deliver, and dividing groups into smaller teams so that there's collaborative decision making with a focus on innovation. And so kind of this focus on the customer within every department and product, and this push um, to excellence, it's what really drove their success as a startup. But this high pressure environment isn't ideal for everyone. And some employees have reported about the lack of work-life balance that have led to their departure, kind of those the burnout that may come with some of these high demands. Whereas for Google, it's consistently won awards for best company culture, where they encourage their employees to work when and where they want, and giving them a lot of that autonomy and that freedom to be creative in their workflow. And as a company that is built on innovation, they encourage experimentation and ask employees to keep the user central at all times. They have like clear core values in encouraging transparent communication at all levels of the company. And so employee development is also a priority, where they've allowed for greater mobility within the company, and therefore there's been less turnover. But Google has struggled with reports about a lack of diversity within the company, and showcasing their need to focus on DEI initiatives. Tesla, also another high pressure environment, that where there's a focus on innovation, and consistently they encourage employees to experiment, and they're not afraid to let people work outside of that comfort zone. So these small teams has a strong dedication to that personal responsibility, part of that individualistic culture. But there's like a lot of expectation in achieving these great results no matter what. And so Tesla has frequently found itself in the news also, because of these the pressure and even some of the racism and the working conditions. Microsoft is a company that's been working for the last few years to swing their culture from this fixed mindset to a growth mindset, to encourage growth, experimentation, as a part of each job. And that focus on that collaboration gives this opportunity for employees um, to connect, and also they also provide a lot of ample opportunities for learning and development. Microsoft has also been known to have a strong focus on diversity and inclusion within the company, aiming to create a workforce that's reflective of the diversity of the population that it serves. And so their core values highlight empathy and collaboration, and they really prioritize work-life balance. And so these are some of the things that these kind of companies that are like household names to many of us, like we're familiar with them. But as we look at all of these different words of, elements of positive work culture or toxic work culture, let's take some time to kind of reflect on these places where you've been, whether it's a prior workplace thinking back to like work culture aspects that you enjoyed or felt that were toxic, use these the word activity sheet to share this out in your breakout room. So we're in a moment, we're about to send you out into the breakout rooms where please like introduce yourself, which degree, program that you're in, and if you're in a current role, and also pick one of these things to share out about, whether it's a prior workplace, a current workplace, or dreaming forward to your next workplace, and in discussing these cultural elements. Um, does anybody have any questions before we go into the breakout room? And after, like, once you go in, we'll give you about 10, 15 minutes and bring everybody back to the room by 6:50, so that way we can kind of close out. So yeah, and if you need the activity sheet again, all of these words are also in the activity sheet.